On a very special episode of Press B to Cancel, today we have the creator, ToborPrime.
Press B to cancel.
How's it going, everybody? It's Polish109 here. I am greeted by a friend. I think no, that's not how we say this. We are joined by a friend, and it is known as the G to the P, Guy Prime from the Therapy Couch, formerly the Retro Therapy, formerly Hey You, and also we have a special guest today. We have the creator himself, ToborPrime of Planet Tobor.
Hey, thank you. I think I totally botched your intro.
No, it doesn't matter.
Offsides immediately.
Offsides. Oh God. So yeah, this is already the most professional we've ever been. So it's a good sign. But anyways, yeah. So joined with Tobor and myself, we have Guy Prime from the Therapy Couch. You want to say hi?
Yes, I do. Hi.
Okay, cool. So yeah, let's go straight into this. Tobor.
Yes, sir.
Why the hell are you here?
How am I here?
Why?
Why?
What are you doing?
I'm in the wrong Discord channel. I think I'll talk to you guys later.
Okay, cool.
Oops.
Well, since we got you here, I mean, I heard that you're making your own game. You want to tell me about it a little bit?
Sure. So Savage: The Shard of Gosen is an action platformer, old school sword and sorcery RPG, retro styled video game that I've been working on for all of the 21st century so far.
And so an RPG stands for what exactly? Rocket propelled grenade? That's
right,
okay.
Right in your face.
Okay.
If you're into Conan the Barbarian, you're gonna get a rocket propelled grenade right into your mug with Savage.
Sweet. Okay, I never caught that one in the demo. So, all right. So, just wanted to get you started on it. So, the barbarian thing, the sword and sorcery thing, very, very heavy, Arnold heavy. You know, anything that you want to say like that influenced you leading up to it before we actually talk about the game itself? Like, what were some of your influences? What made you want to make this game?
Well, I always wanted to make a game. Specifically, when I was a kid, I was like, I'm going to work at Nintendo, or something like that.
Oh yeah.
After playing,
I had that dream.
Yeah, after playing Super Mario Brothers, I was like, I'm going to go make Mario Brothers at Nintendo. Which is a very specific goal to have at 5. But I don't know. I've just been fascinated.
We all had it.
Yeah. I've just been fascinated with that stuff. I liked making toys growing up and stuff out of just whatever. So I think I'm just got a weird natural tinkerer hair up my ass, kind of. I still haven't been able to pull it out. So I mean, and games are like another aspect of that.
Another ass hair. Okay, cool.
Yeah, another. Yeah, on my sparsely populated butt, sparsely haired bottom.
This is already going better than I thought. By the way, this is amazing. So.
Yeah, they're few, but they're long and crinkly. And Savage is one of those long, crinkly hairs. But yeah, just growing up playing stuff like Hero Quest. GP, you're familiar with Hero Quest?
Yes, very.
Yeah, there's stuff like Dungeons and Dragons and junk, like looking at the old comic books in the 90s had just fantastic Dungeons and Dragons ads in them with like Dark Sun Brahm artwork in it and everything. And so stuff like that is like kind of always fueled my imagination. And then later on the Conan stories by Robert E. Howard. And just stuff like, just lots of nerdy stuff. I had to have something to complement my asthma with, so.
And you got to have the tape on your glasses and the dude that's kicking sand on in your face while you're hanging out with your girlfriend. Oh wait, this is
what girlfriend?
That's
So yeah, if your teeth came in just nice enough that you didn't need the headgear, guess I'll make a video game.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I'll make a video game.
So okay, I got a few questions here. I sent you ahead just so you're prepared here. But what is, if you had to say 3 biggest video game influences that led to you wanting to make Savage? Like, what were the biggest ones that said, okay, I want to take this from this and this and this? And what were the main 3 that you'd say influenced Savage game-wise?
Oh my, that's a heartbreaking question. Because, yeah, there's just so much. Which is probably why it's taking so damn long, too, because I'm like, oh, I remember this other thing in this other game I really like. I'm going to put it in here. Let's see. Mario Brothers 2. So if we're talking like specific mechanical influences, Mario Brothers 2, I loved the interactability you had with, is that even a word? I don't know.
It is now.
Yeah, it is in the Press B dictionary now.
We make up our own, don't worry.
Makes communication very difficult, but very entertaining. Yeah, Mario Brothers 2 with the, you could toss enemies around and stuff and pick things up and throw them and everything. Games like Ultima Underworld and Daggerfall with their kind of simulation aspects where you could talk to everybody, you could kill everybody, you could solve puzzles in weird sort of physicsy ways and stuff. And Zelda 2. Zelda 2 was a kind of a big thing. Yeah, for me. I liked the mix of overworld exploration. Kind of tricked you into feeling like the world, the universe that your player inhabited was much bigger than it actually was. It gave kind of context to the little levels and areas and things that you entered when the game turned into the 2D action platforming stuff. I don't know. There's a ton of crap. I could go like, Castlevania because it had good combat.
Yeah.
Freaking Final Fantasy 6 because it had awesome sprite work. I don't know. Okay. Can I ask you guys a question?
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
What do you see when you play Savage?
Oh, man.
How do you feel?
Me?
Yeah, what does it remind you of? Because Savage is a hack job. It's full of stuff that I've just stolen from all the things I like.
But in a very, very loving way. It's a very homage way. I don't know. I think like a Castlevania, Metroidvania kind of thing. First off, like Symphony of the Night, I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, well, you just say Metroidvania, but I love the way it moves. Like I find that Kel, your main character, moves a lot really fluidly. I like how he's animated, and it kind of reminds me of being Alucard in Symphony of the Night. So, like in the best way. So that's probably the biggest one there, and then there's the Zelda 2 influence, I think, as well, because it's just the 2D sections, the platforming sections. It's more jumping around, it's more vertical, but it still has that essence, and it makes me just want to play both of them, really.
Yeah.
Zelda and Savage.
The awesome thing about Zelda, one of the awesome things about Zelda 2 that not a lot of people talk about is the joy of movement in that game, in the platform. It's very smooth. It's a very smooth game that I don't think a lot of people really remember.
Like it gets a lot of flack, and it's my favorite. I haven't played the first one. I started and I got like long enough to get the sword, and that was it.
It's the worst Zelda. Don't you know it's the worst Zelda?
Worst. Yeah,
it's the goddamn worst Zelda.
I'm always happy when someone else enjoys Zelda 2 as much as I do, and I know GP does too. So
yeah, that's one of them. It's funny that you mentioned Mario 2. Because I played through that like 3 times today trying to practice for my own purposes, because now like I'm going through the game in my head now thinking absolutely why did I not immediately piece that together. The overworld in between sections, very much Final Fantasy VI overworld in my head, and then the Mario 2 reference, I'm kind of kicking myself in the ass for not like noticing that the multi-level the platforming aspect of it, but the different kind of terrain and varied things like that. It's brilliant. It's great. That totally comes through.
Yeah, and I think you call it a hack job, but I think the way you
it's Doki Savage.
There we go. Yeah, and if you don't understand what that is, you can check out our episode on Doki Panic.
Okay. I listened to that one.
Oh God,
yeah, I love your guys' podcast. By the way, I should have led with to butter you up, but
You want to be interviewed on it sometime? We could do that if you'd like.
That would be fantastic.
And I'm glad you didn't start off trying to butter us up. I'm glad that we got the hair up the ass anecdotes first. I'm glad that that's how we started. It feels more real, more grounded.
Yeah,
you like to lead things ass first.
Yeah, never half-ass it, all ass it.
Yeah, all ass.
Well, let me, because I know we have just a ton of questions here. Was there a day or like a moment that hit you in life that you can pinpoint and be like, that was the day I knew this was the game I was going to make? Because I imagine you had multiple ideas for multiple potential games. When was it that you were like, this is going to be the one? This is the leader. This is the winner.
When I started working on this was embarrassingly like I want to say 2009, maybe 2010, where I was like, I want to make a video game, and I'm not really sure what. I just knew, I don't know, my burgeoning game development trigger finger, I guess, was firmly grappling a barbarian themed thing, and I knew it was like maybe going to be a platformer or something. But a lot of that kind of came from, like, I used to live in LA. I lost a ton of money. I worked at a place that didn't pay me. I had a roommate that owed me a lot of money. Like, it was a disaster. Much like the story of anybody that went to go, try to do things in Los Angeles. It was just like a left behind a smoldering wreckage. I moved back home and started working at my old job again, which was a dehydrated vegetable shipping and receiving and processing warehouse plant thing. It was kind of weird. But anyway,
That's very specific. I kind of like it, but
but like I did stuff out when I lived in LA. I was working with really small. A buddy of mine had a production company and stuff. We made films and we shopped them around. We made promotional material for other businesses and stuff. And I had done music as well. I'd been in bands and stuff. And I don't know. I was kind of tired of working with other people because I'm a bastard of a control freak. and just kind of being screwed over a little bit. Like you do enough stuff like that, and like eventually somebody's gonna steal something of yours, and you're gonna find out about it. And
you're just gonna be like fed up. It's like this is my breaking point. I'm done with this. I'm gonna keep going. Myself.
It was surreal because like one of them was like we made a short film and we showed it to some people, like some what would I call it? High influential people. That got a hold of it and said it was
friends.
Yeah, who needs enemies with? No, just kidding. No, the guy I worked with was a lot of fun, and we were good friends and everything. But we showed some of our stuff to somebody who got a hold of it and told us it was awesome. And then later on, after dreams crushed, working my old job, several jobs. I worked came back home, did my dehydrated vegetable stuff, and then also got another job at a movie theater I used to work at when I was a teenager. They were still around, and I was doing like projection stuff and usher stuff, like going in and cleaning theaters and stuff. I remember seeing my work on the screen in the theater that I was cleaning. It's like, you got to be kidding me. Same production company of this guy that took our ideas and ran with them.
In that way. Okay,
yeah. No, it wasn't like
shit.
Like, we made it.
I was thinking like, everything's savage on the screen. Fuck yeah.
Yeah. No, nothing like that, unfortunately. Or maybe fortunately, because it set me on to finally getting around to making a game. Because I was like, this is something I can do by myself, even though I wouldn't recommend that at this point.
Yeah. It's a learning experience. I know.
Yeah. It was another thing to kind of sink my time and energy into. That I could, it was a brand new thing, so it was exciting to learn it. Like you get all your dopamine hits from stuff like that when you're learning things and you're, getting good at a very fast rate, as opposed to later on when you kind of plateau or whatever. But I picked up a book on Game Maker Studio. Well, it wasn't Game Maker Studio then; it was Jesus. I've been working on Savage for like several iterations of this software. But yeah, like it's funny that you mentioned Symphony of the Night too.
Why aren't you making this on Game Maker too?
Yeah. Why aren't you using Unreal 4, idiot? But yeah, it was. I started then, and it was like I kind of I was like, maybe I'll make it like Symphony of the Night, where you're like this barbarian dude, and you're escaping instead of trying to get through a castle, you're escaping a castle, like you've been thrown in prison. You're gonna go like kill a bunch of slaver type dudes, and then the end will be eventually just escaping. It was supposed to be like almost a little bit Metroidvania-y in a open-ended sort of dungeon for you to solve, which is how it started out. And my little brother at the time, who was like 5, was playing it, and he really enjoyed it. So I just kept working on it. But eventually, fast forward. I'm sorry, this is so verbose.
No, it's all good.
I'm so sorry about that. But eventually, got married. We moved. My wife and I moved to Austin, Texas, into a roach-infested little apartment. And I was working on the game. I was doing a webcomic, like a daily webcomic, as well as YouTube videos. I was trying to do like a multimedia empire, but because I'm a weirdo.
It's just the times. It's okay.
Yeah.
You did it before it was cool.
Yeah. I'm trendy. I'm hip. Ass first.
Ass hair first.
Yes, hair first. And then eventually, the apartment burned down, and we so casual. Yeah. We the easiest move I've ever made in my life was that one. Good riddance, though. That place was nasty. It was there were like roaches in the walls and stuff, and they'd fall out of the lights in the ceiling, and it was awful. We moved to a new place, a little studio apartment, and I just kept working on the game. And I eventually found Twitch, and I met a guy called Indy on Twitch who asked me where the Kickstarter was for my game because he thought it was pretty cool. And I was like, I don't have one. He's like, well, make one. So I did. And that was right around the time where I was like, okay, this is the game I want to make. Like the overworld with the the more Zelda 2 aspects kind of started to come to life there.
So were you streaming dev for this game at this point? Or was...
Yeah, I started to before the Kickstarter, which was in 2014.
Okay, cool. Actually, we got some questions about the Kickstarter, too. This was from Sick Jake, because we all kind of jumped in on this. We wanted to get questions for you.
Sure.
So Jake was wondering, were you surprised? Because you actually you went past your goal, right?
Yeah.
So what was your reaction to that? Like, what were you expecting, and what did it feel like going on Kickstarter and all of a sudden setting a goal and then going over it?
That was kind of an incredibly surreal thing to do because, I mean, I'm sure like you guys feel, and probably most creatives out there feel, we have this sort of sense about ourselves and about our work where we shouldn't charge anything for it, or we should charge very, very little. And it's like, oh, it can't, it should be about the art. It should be about the passion while you're coughing your lungs up in the street dying or something.
It's about the art, man. So
I undersold it heavily and made the buy-in for the game very, very low. Like, around $5 was you could get a copy of the game. So yeah, I had this thing in my head, and I still have it, and it's hard to shake off, where your work is kind of worthless, and you're not really good at what you do, but you're trying to do it anyway, so you don't want to cheat anybody. So I set the bar very low, and I didn't. And people were asking me during the Kickstarter, like, why don't you spice this up a little? We'd like to have bigger rewards, and we'd give you more money for it, like stuff like physical copies and everything. But I was terrified of all that stuff. I was like, I've never done anything like that, let alone make a game before. Like, I was still kind of learning how to do it. I had this sort of self-contained prototype thing that you could play. There was like maybe like about an hour of video game there that you could just kind of run through and like kill a boss at the end and have a sort of a video gamey ending. There was like an arc there, a gameplay arc.
Enough to get that taste, to get that fix, and be like, I want some more of this.
Right, and it's very garbage. When you look back at it now, it's like, oh my god. I don't know that I was necessarily surprised that it made it, because Indy and his community really rallied around it, and especially a few guys there. Bless them, they put it. They backed a lot behind it. They supported it pretty heavily, which it probably wouldn't have made it otherwise. Yeah, I don't know that I was necessarily surprised, because I did make it, kind of at a low success level. And at that point, too, since where we were living, our living expenses were very, very low. And that would have sort of covered like a year or two of living the way that we were living at the time. And I was like, surely I'll be done in 2 years. It can't possibly take any longer. But here we are now in 2020. Whoops.
Speaking to that, okay, it'll probably take 2 years, and then here we are, however many years later. Did you find that there were a lot of ideas, or any ideas that didn't make the cut? Or are there any things that you kind of think, man, I wish I had put this in there instead because that was a solid idea? Things like that.
There are some really crazy things that I wanted to put into the game that I know that I'm not going to. Like, I wanted there to be a 3D battle and war campaign system in the game. Mm-hmm. So, like how the overworld map is like kind of mode 7-ish style thing. Right. I wanted to have these battlefields that you could access. So, okay, like you're in the, you're in the Gosenian Highlands or something, right? Let's use fun fantasy words.
Yes.
And there's an Argeshi encampment out there, like a little slaver camp that kind of springs up because you haven't really touched that area in a while. And it becomes a location on the world map. If you leave it alone, you let them ravage the landscape unchecked, they'll start rounding up people of the Highlands as slaves. You can find places to liberate them, and each slave would have like a different, or there would be a variety of slaves that you could liberate. Like maybe spearmen, archers, guys that can ride cavalry or something. And then that Argeshi encampment would get bigger and bigger if you left it alone, and it would eventually become a fortress. You could attack the fortress with the dudes that you liberated. They'd follow you into battle, and it would go into a 3D Mode 7 style battlefield where you'd all kind of charge each other and stuff. And each it would be kind of a game of rock paper scissors. Like each troop would attack another troop. Like a spearman would do really well versus a cavalry guy or something, and an archer could take out a normal unshielded footman or something. I was gonna do stuff like that, like really, really stupid, like crazy. That would have taken like another million. Like I basically wanted to squeeze Mountain Blade into Savage on accident, I guess. And then some kind of weird player housing system too, where you could build your own little house at one of the Binding Stone locations. The Binding Stone locations on the world map are supposed to be kind of your fast travel nodes between the different areas of the world. There's gonna be like 3 or 4 of them. But like reality would be warping and shifting around them so that they'd all sort of be the same place, but you would, there would be one in the desert, one in Volenheim, and one in the highlands and in the Gosenian hills. So I was gonna put like a thing in there where you could, if you killed certain bosses, you could put their heads on the wall and stuff, and stuff like that, or a place to stash your junk.
Damn you.
Every man needs a place to stash his junk.
So that was actually from Werewolf. He was asking about that too. So and one question Werewolf is going to ask you is, you think anything is going to be majorly different by the end of development compared to now? So what you have in the game now and what you've already established, do you foresee like big changes, or are you kind of just happy with this and you're adding on to it, or are you going to subtract from it? Do you think you're kind of just on par with what you want to do now? Have you found your groove? Are you Stella?
Yeah, I'm a super Stella now. Yeah, I'm just kind of I'm more focusing on putting content out and polish. So the way that the game works mechanically right now, it's not really going to be too terribly different. Like all of the systems and everything are in the game, and they have been for actually quite a while. But like there've been some things, some upgrades along the way. Like it wasn't too long ago that I added upward and downward combat, like the ability for you to strike upward from all of your neutral states.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And downward while you're in the air and all that stuff. So that's...
Thank you, by the way.
Relative. I that's something that I was kind of like, I don't know if I'm going to... I really wanted it for a long time, but I was like, I don't know if I'm going to do that, because then I got to, do all the other armor states for him, and like, left-facing, right-facing, like it was just... But I did. I buckled down, and like maybe in a couple months managed to put that in the game. And it feels so much better for it, I think. So, I mean, if anything weird like that pops up and it's just like, I gotta have this. I'm a little more hesitant to do that now. I kind of just want to finish, and I want to like wrap things up, and right now it's an issue of just putting in the remaining dungeons, giving the bosses that are done a home to call their own, a place to put their junk as well.
I'm sorry. There's a lot of things as I listen to you talk. I'm like, these are the thought trains of brilliant people. Like just
the ravings of a lunatic.
Yes, but the other side of that is you're absolutely genius. Like, where am I going to put this person's junk? And a video game is such a novel idea to somebody who's never thought about creating one. But it's a really good point. And so I'm, like I said, I'm kind of taking notes here about shit people think about. I love it. It tickles me. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, let's all make our worst Zelda.
Done. I didn't do it. That's actually something I was going to mention too. Is like watching you develop this game on Twitch. That's how I met you on Twitch, and like I've loved seeing it go through the evolution I've seen. Like I get to see the work that you put in and playing the game. When I finally got to play the game, I was like, okay, cool. And it's still in early access, so you still got work to do, and you're still working on it. But seeing that progress and seeing what you're working with and the kind of bugs you're trying to fix and little things like that, it really made me respect a lot of indie games in general, and a lot more respect for older video games too, because stuff that I took for granted as a kid, and now looking back at it, it's still kind of mind-blowing to look back at it and say this game came out in like 88 or 86, or seeing it done now and watching you do it is, I gotta say, I always suck up to Tobor because I love what he's doing. Yeah. And I gotta say, it's cool to see it from a casual gamer's point of view, what kind of things go into making a video game. So it's really cool to watch. So, and especially when you're when you're talking balancing out things and saying, is this worth the effort? You know, you took 2 months to put the 2 or 3 months to put the up and down attacks in and work that into your game. So trying to figure out where you are. And all of this is the first time for you, right? You haven't done this before.
Get nothing like this.
So, I mean, it's not like you jumped in, you made your own Pac-Man game, and then said, "Oh, I'm gonna do this." So,
Yeah, I mean, I'd played around a lot with stuff like that as a kid. Something period, fifth period, something like that. Mr. Isaac's C++ class in high school.
Sure, I took that class. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Hey, we both cut our teeth under 9.5, as we called him, because he was missing a part of one of his fingers.
Oh, actually, by the time I knew him, he was just 9. Different finger, but yeah, we just called him old 9 fingers. Yeah.
The rest of that thing just fell off. Just 9. I made a game in heavy air quotes called Kill the Orc.
So this isn't your first foray into the sword and sorcery realm, then? Wow. Okay, my dream is just gone. My vision of the creator is gone. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, people inevitably get disappointed with me. It's okay, Paul.
Well, I'm still riding high on the Tobor.
On the ass first.
Yeah, yeah. You had me at ass first.
All right, so quick question now, since we could talk about any of this for hours. Why Game Maker? Why didn't you use something else? Like Unity is a real common one, especially with first-time devs and stuff. So what made you go to get a book on Game Maker?
Because people that use Unity are... Because I was searching for just very, very basic... Sorry, I told you ask first. Sorry.
Calm blue ocean, calm blue ocean.
I'm horribly toxic. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good.
Horribly toxic. In the most polite voice. I'm so sorry. I'm horribly toxic.
Uncomfortably toxic.
Uncomfortably.
Terrible man. I don't know. Like it was a few Google searches, like trying to find something that I didn't need to relearn from scratch, something like C++ or like get familiar with all these crazy libraries, and I eventually just stumbled into Game Maker, and it wasn't like some weird like RPG Maker thing or make your own action platforming video game, like with all this stuff that you had to kind of stick with.
Preset tiles, preset music, and sprites.
Right, or even just like preset like engine kind of thing where it's like you can only make a Castlevania clone with this thing or something like that.
I mean, that's right up my alley, but that's because I have no patience to learn, so I will pay to play your game, my friend.
Oh, speaking of which, you guys, this is I'm so sorry about this. This is a heavy I digress heavily and fantastically.
Oh, no, it's all good.
Somebody is putting together a Super Nintendo Game Maker.
Oh, baby.
So pretty soon we'll be able to quote unquote easily make Super Nintendo games without having to know assembly or anything like that. Kind of like NES Maker. Anyway, I'm sorry. So just Game Maker was
no, it's cool.
Yeah, Game Maker seemed like you could do anything with it. Like, and you could literally do anything with Game Maker. You could make your own like spreadsheet software if you really wanted to with Game Maker. It was open and like the skill ceiling was high enough, with it where you could basically just do whatever. But it had a very, very easy way to introduce you to it, to make something and get something up and running and everything.
Yeah, that would be key for me because I've got like the most basic of video editing software, and I'm still banging my head against the wall. So I can appreciate that.
Yeah. Game Maker can be Windows Movie Maker all the way up to some other thing, big thing.
Final Cut Pro or whatever.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
I heard the name before. I don't know if it's any good or not, but anyways, I digress. Yeah, so you decided on that. You stuck with it. I know there's been like upgrades. Why aren't you using Game Maker 2 and stuff like that? But
yeah, and that's because switching over to Game Maker 2 is pretty precarious. It's basically a whole different beast, and there would be aspects of the game that I'd have to rewrite. Like eventually I probably will, just because of the opportunity that Game Maker Studio 2 gives you. It lets you port like Nintendo Switch, for example. So if I could get Savage kind of a little tidier and working on Studio 2, I don't see why I wouldn't do that.
That would be worthy of buying a Switch, in my opinion. Yeah, since we're talking about the hardware and stuff like that, has there any been major hurdles when you were working on this? Like, you're learning everything as you go. You've done the art, you've done the coding, you've done the music. God knows what else, because I don't know what else goes into a video game, like when it comes to making. But what was probably one of the biggest hurdles? The back pain, yeah. I know that one, okay. But what was probably one of the biggest hurdles you've had to deal with from starting this game?
Man, that's a good question. Making him move left and right was, I remember, particularly being very challenging. Just making a guy move around on the screen was tough.
I can imagine drawing the art, and then that's it. And I'm like, how do people go, doing this and that? So
yeah, well, and then kind of knowing that I wanted to make something that was low fidelity looking, like a Nintendo game or a Super Nintendo game or whatever. Like, I had no idea about sizes or anything, like how big to draw things, how big to, what the screen shape or size or, aspect ratio and resolution should be. Like, we've got it like way stupid easy as game makers today. Like, we're kind of, when it comes to like the kind of stuff that other people had to do for actual hardware development.
Yeah, like punching in individual pixels. Like hexadecimal code for individual pixels.
Yeah, like lookup tables so that you could draw Mario to the screen and make sure that you're doing all of your stuff between cycles of the the CRT TV using its ray to draw the image to the screen and then resetting itself into position and all this crazy stuff, like compensating for periods when the ray is not drawing to the TV or whatever. And I mean, somebody who's listening to this who knows about all of that stuff is probably cringing pretty hard at my terminology, but
yeah, I know all about overcompensating, so yeah, that's accurate.
Ask first.
You were at home with us, don't worry.
There's so many things like that. I mean, and to get the 3D world map running the way I wanted it to, and the next biggest hurdle is just finishing my goddamn work. Like,
God damn it!
Like, when is enough? Stop doing this to yourself, man.
Yeah. Well, okay, so just for people like as of right now, you're still in early access. If you had to give it a rough estimate, like completion wise, for just like the main story content wise, how much of the game do you have for people to play? Like, if I went and bought the game right now and installed it, how much of it am I going to be able to play?
There's over 50% of the content in there. Maybe not so much as far as like actual story stuff, like characters saying things and you saying things to characters. Like a lot of that still needs to be injected into it. But like as far as play, like, and there's a reasonable amount of there's so many like weird aspects to it, because you have your conversations that you can have with NPCs and everything, and the information that they give you, and then there's the actual dungeon crawls and stuff, and the hunting for items and the fighting of bosses and stuff, and the locations on the world map. But yeah, it's definitely over half.
Okay.
And you can, I think maybe a better approximation would be like you can spend a good 10 hours in the game right now, I think.
Okay.
You could juice it a little bit, in other words.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. Like I've started a couple before, and started a couple of different plays, and both times I had different outcomes just from like what I was wearing when I entered the village versus I accidentally hit one dude, or so there's more than one way to play through the game, and that blows me away for how the way you have it set up. Like, the game is not done. But what you have done now is just kind of, it's almost overwhelming just to see how much you have done. Oh, I wonder if I do it this way. I wonder if I do it that way. So there's a lot of like forethought put into it. It's really cool to see.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I wanted to do was, like, I want to put a lot of content in there, but I also want to put a like an efficiency track in there, like an efficiency route, a critical path, well, let's say. As they call it in the biz, I guess, is what I've heard. So I want the critical path to be like, if you're really, really awesome at it and you know what you're doing, I don't want it to take that long to play through. And And it lends itself to multiple playthroughs and stuff once you understand, the world and everything in the setting. But if you want to kind of hang out there for a while and you want to grind for stuff and you want to do like late game stuff and go after optional bosses and locations and everything, there's stuff in there for you to do, as well as stuff for you to only be able to get on a second or third playthrough even. So that's the plan anyway. And it's working. It's slowly, very slowly, but it's working.
We're doing this.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
doing this. Now, is there anything you'd like to talk about that you'd like to get out there for anybody who's listening, for anybody who's already got the game, anybody who might be interested in the game, anything you want to just talk about?
Well, first of all, if you have the game already, then thank you very much. And thank you for supporting it. And thank you for being so patient. I don't deserve any of that, as far as I'm concerned. As from a marketing and a deliverability standpoint, I have failed spectacularly at this. Ass first. But I do think that the game is getting objectively better. I mean, obviously, that's the trick, right? Like, you could do anything if you had 100 years, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's the terrifying thing, is you can lose yourself in a
learn how to play guitar finally. God damn it.
Yeah, you could learn. Yeah, you could learn every language. You could, become a fantastic. Maybe you're just working on one painting for the rest of your life, and it's,
I thought you were going to say you're going to become a fantastic lover, and I was about to say too late.
You can be a fantastic lover as well.
There we
if
go.
you practice.
Thank you. Practice with a cantaloupe, all right?
Ash first.
Ash first.
But yeah, anything like it's like I'm gonna go build a castle, and that's the danger of this too. Is like I still need to make money at some point as well. Like
Yeah.
there's that like decision that needs to be weighed all the time. So it's like, do I just smack an ending on this thing, like put the final boss in, or like kind of rewrite the ending a little bit and ship now and forever hold my peace? And then just follow it up with a Savage 2. Like, I don't want to do that. Like, there are things that I don't want to compromise on just yet.
I find that interesting because I feel like people in the video game industry, especially nowadays, do that all the time. Of course, instead of releasing a sequel, they label it like DLC.
Sure.
And I think that's a completely thing. Oh, yeah, let's rush it out. We'll just do DLC later on. So, mad respect to you for wanting to make a quality first release product.
Oh God, yeah. Entertainment is in such a weird place right now. Companies
Press me to cancel.
Yeah, it's weird. There's freaking insane people ranting and raving on the internet, like press B to cancel. But
We're good at what we do.
companies that have gotten so huge, where the balance between some people that want to create something because it entertains them and they really want to see it exist, the balance between them and like the money people. The CEOs and stuff have gotten like way out of whack, and businesses have gotten so large that they've got entire teams like dedicated to stuff that may or may not ever happen. Where they've got these massive campuses and stuff, and like this huge overhead. They've just just gotten they've gotten soft. They've gotten too soft, and then something like like this situation right now that's going on with the beer virus is just going to tip those guys over. You're seeing it right now with the comic book industry, where like it could not survive 2 weeks of very little business with people on lockdown and shops having to close. Like that whole industry is on fire right now, and I think that is that's a little bit of a look at I think where Hollywood and the big games industry is going to wind up. Like I think. The silver lining behind all of this is I think when this stuff sort of clears up a little bit or gets back to whatever the quote unquote new normal is, right? We're gonna get a little bit of a renaissance where people are gonna not only is stuff gonna be produced in a different way, but people are gonna make things that they actually want, and people are gonna buy things that they actually want instead of just sort of getting addicted to a way of consumerism where it's like oh, it's another one of these. I wish that they did a better job, but like. I don't see any other options, so I'm just going to buy it still or whatever.
I'm just still going to shell out anyway. So
yeah, I think things are going to shift a little bit for the better because I think this was going to happen anyway. But I think that this, Corona-chan kind of just helped it along a little bit. Like it hit the fast forward button in a number of by a couple years maybe, where we didn't have to agonize over it too much longer.
Yeah, so I think what you're going at is solid actually, because it's easy to take things for granted, especially in this day and age. I mean, you have especially with all the crunch and things that people are talking about in video game industry and stuff like that.
Yeah, crunching on
So-
stuff that they don't even want to necessarily care about, and they don't own it. Like they're not
Yeah.
creator-owned properties. Anyway. Sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, but I think that's one thing that when this thing kind of blows over a bit more, you'll start seeing people a lot more appreciative of things they want to see and they more respectful of what they get to experience, because the convenience is not there anymore. So I think now that when you get to exposure to something you want to see, I think you'll be a little bit more grateful for it. So. And that's, I think, part of what I was talking about earlier, too, is understanding how devs do it from the indie side of things. I'm just like, okay, you're one of the main devs that I follow that's indie. So, I've got a handful of games on my Steam library. I'm not that educated in the indie scene, but I have a lot more respect, and I like seeing more. There's more indie games on my wish list now than anything else. And I don't have much interest in the AAA thing anymore because of that. Because I like indie because it's more themed towards retro, there's more vintage kind of thing. So it's cool to see. And the ass kissing aside from your I don't want to pluck out that hair by any means, because that's the
Careful where those lips land.
yeah, exactly. I want to make sure that everything's okay here, so this keeps going. So whatever you're doing, keep doing it. I appreciate it.
Well, I thank you. I don't deserve any of that, but yeah, my ass is thoroughly sopping wet now.
Mine too.
Humid, I think.
Completely different reasons.
Yeah, but yeah, you bring up some interesting stuff with the retro thing. I don't necessarily think that people are drawn to that stuff because of the way it looks, but because of the philosophies behind the development of that stuff. And I think you could totally do that. Yeah, I think you could totally pull that off in things that look are running on better tech and everything. But you don't see a lot of that right now. But I think one of the best examples of that is probably Dark Souls, where it feels like a video game still. Like it treats you like a video game, as opposed to a cinematic experience or something that's bloated. And why aren't I just watching a movie? Like, this is kind of a game, the fail state is confusing. I'm either guided too much or not enough. They're not things that you can learn or necessarily get too much better at. But I think it's just a philosophy thing as far as design goes.
I don't have any real experience with Dark Souls. I played it for 45 minutes when it was free from Xbox 360, on Xbox Live. And I was like, there's no story to this. Screw this. I don't care. And I'm like, I hated it. And watching my friends play it on stream now, I'm actually kind of interested. I enjoy watching them play it.
Yeah.
But for the fact that there's one thing that I like about it is that the story, it's like watching a really high-tech Nintendo game to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Absolutely.
first off, is NES hard? It's ridiculously hard. People are like, "Oh man, this is like Dark Souls hard,"
Yeah. Well, it demands a little practice from your part,
Yeah. And that's the thing too, and you're not focused on the story. There is, there's lore behind it. You got to go out of your way to find it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's literally jump in, do it. And I think that's something that a lot of older video games did. You didn't have tutorials. You had to read the manual, and even then you didn't have to. You could just jump in and play it.
Yeah.
And you'll learn by dying. You'll learn through experience. And so I think that's kind of cool, because I've seen that element now in Savage as well. So I want a manual. I'm not gonna lie, but at the same time, it is fun discovering things in that game. So
yeah, I want to do a manual still. I want to do a little art book and whatever else. Yeah, I want supplements for the game, absolutely, and eventually a physical too, because that's another thing I think I miss about gaming is not having control over the product that I bought.
yeah. So definitely, if you get that going out, I'm looking for 25 years from now, I want to see a website reissuing it with some extra swag in there. Because that would be awesome.
Yeah, and if you slap the name Deluxe Edition on anything that you do, I will rebuy it indefinitely.
Yeah.
You know what I want to call that is the way it should be edition.
Yeah. I fixed it edition.
Yeah.
What I would love if there's a way to get a tabletop figurine of the main characters and the main sprite world for my Hero Quest, that would be great.
I would love that. I would love to do that. 3D print something out or get it sculpted too. There's some very good and talented dudes that do sculpting specifically for miniatures and tabletop games and stuff who are fans of Savage, which is pretty cool to see. Like, oh, can I hire you to just like make some Savage miniatures? So who knows? That maybe that's more pie in the sky stuff. But
Yeah, that's awesome though. It bothers me how much creativity you have for this because I want some. So
just have to go ash first, Balsh.
ass first. Okay, I got the ass hairs to do it. I just have to find the long one. Okay.
Yeah. And tug.
Really hard, just not hard enough to yank it out. Okay, so I digress. You wanted to say like any thank yous? Not to us. You already did that, so shut up.
Oh, okay. Well, screw you guys.
Okay.
Yeah. No.
That's more
I
like
do appreciate it, and I like your pie. I still need to binge through the rest of it. Like I've got a few episodes deep, and I've been really enjoying it. And I've been taking bits and pieces off some of the newer stuff. But I'm weird where I'm like, I got to start at the beginning. Otherwise I don't know anything, which is not not feasible
like
for most humans. But thankfully, I get to sit at home and work, and I can just put something like that on. But I'm very grateful for you guys having me on and asking me questions about the game and everything. And yeah, whoever has picked up the game, or who's just watching, who watches the streams, who participates in any of that, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And thank you for your patience on all this. I'm still weirded out that I kind of get to do this, not necessarily for a good living yet, but for an aspect of living. I'm outrageously grateful to anyone listening who's who supported the game in any capacity. So thank you.
Well, it's definitely deserving of it. I do want to say a few things real quick. Watching you during your development streams of this is kind of like the reverse of most popular documentaries. Like
the reverse of excitement.
No. If you ever watch like a documentary on how your food is made, you come away thinking, "Oh my God, I ate that," and then some time goes by and shamefully you eat it again and try to block out that memory. But watching you is like, this is so much cooler than what I would have ever thought. One of my first times I'd ever got a chance to watch you stream the development of the game, I remember very vividly, this was a couple years ago, you were working on the falling animations from like recoil or blowback from getting damaged. And you're just tweaking all these things, and I'm like watching intently and thinking, I've never really paid attention to just the idiosyncrasies or whatever you would say for those kind of things. You kind of, if you grow up just playing games and you never think about what goes into it, you take that for granted. And it was so funny because the game that I played after watching you do that was Moon Crystal for the first time.
Oh, man.
Which is completely overly animated. Yeah. It was like, it was the hyperbole of that. So now I'm like hyper aware, like going back to play, Batman for the NES or, any of the Double Dragon games and stuff like that. I'm always very aware now. And I credit that to you, the man behind the curtain.
Wow.
The creator.
Yeah. That game is funny. That's a funny game.
I'm just saying, like, I love the game. I love what you've done. But I respect the hell out of it because I've seen it.
Thank you. Yeah, there are things that we just kind of assimilate as we play these growing up. Where we kind of understand how it's supposed to feel, but maybe not how to communicate it. If you were forced to, do what I have forced myself to do for the past like 10 years, to make it work. It's like, how did they even do that? But you kind of feel your way through it, right? You kind of feel like this isn't correct to me somehow. Like if the jump's not working quite the way I want it to, or the gravity's not working quite the way. Like I think anybody like can do it, like because we all have the practice just from playing these damn things. Like we all kind of have this weird designer, lurking in the shadows, lurking in our moon crystals.
I'll show you.
Yeah, right. It's speaking the language and then taking the classes. Like I spoke English before I went to school, but then I took English class, and I'm like, that's why that is like that. Yeah. So you're the English teacher.
Settle down, class. Time for another terribly uncomfortable lesson.
So I don't know if you have all 10 of your digits, but 9 3/4. Tobor 9 3/4, which I believe is a prime, so that's fine.
Tobor of the 9 3/4.
All right. So this has been great, man. Thank you for being here. We really appreciate it.
No, thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate this very, very much.
let's end it here with where can we find you? Where can we find your game? Let's plug your media, your Twitch page, your website, Steam page, whatever. Let's tell the people how.
Sure. You can find Savage the Shard of Gosen on Steam, and you can download a free demo that is about the first quarter of the world map. So you get there's a lot of video game in that demo. Probably too much, but I don't care. You go play that. You can check it out. You can wishlist it on Steam, and if you like it, you can buy it and help support the development of the game until it's done. You can watch it be developed live on Twitch TV, sometimes on YouTube. I'm on Twitch under ToborPrime, and on YouTube I'm under Planet Tobor TV. There's more video content coming there as well.
TOBOR, by the way.
Yes, TOBOR. And you can find me on Twitter at ToborPrime.
Again, thank you, Tobor, for being here, and hopefully now we can open up some more eyes to what all this stuff is, all this game stuff that you're doing, and what it works out to be. So I hope everybody enjoys it. Check out Savage, great game,
Amazing.
great music, great art. Yeah, so support a great dev, and this is all single-handed, by the way. There's no he is a one-man dev team, so that's something we never stressed in the beginning, and I'd like to make sure Tobor is Savage.
Stress being the key word.
Yes. All right. So thanks again, and yeah, man. Hopefully I get to play some more Savage soon. I'm looking forward to the next patch update you're doing.
Yeah, thank you guys very much.
Of course.
All right. Okay, so this has been Press B to Cancel. I'm Polish109. I'm joined again by Guy Prime from the Therapy Couch, and today we've been interviewing ToborPrime.
Ash
and
first.
Ash first in the Shard of Gosen. So thank you again, and until next time, guys, keep pressing B.
Special thanks for music go to Arthur the Ancient, found on SoundCloud, or The Last Ancient on YouTube. For more episodes, please visit our website, pressbtocancel.com. As well, feel free to like or subscribe at Apple iTunes, Google Podcasts, or anywhere else you like to listen to your favorite shows. As always, thank you. This has been
Press B to cancel.
Distance